Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello students, I am Jitesh Gola and today we are going to start with the discussion of question answers of Unit 3, that is Institutional Structure of Class 12th Sociology. Here firstly we are going to take the very short question answers. Under these very short question answers, you have to take care of that what should be the word limit. It should be the short one, either the one word or the single liner answers. Clear? So let's start with the first. What is marriage? So here you have to define the meaning of the term marriage. You can mention the marriage is the social institution. Marriage we can define as a social institution that sanctions the relationship of a man and women as a husband and wife. Clear? The second one they have asked, what is liberate? Liberate meaning we have to define, it is also the form of marriage. Liberate is the form of marriage only, in which a woman marries the younger brother of her dead husband. So that is also one of the practice under marriage. The third one they have asked, what is sororate? What is sororate? So we need to define, it is also the form of marriage only, in which a man after his wife's death marries his wife's sister. So both these liberate and sororate are opposite to each other. Then here, what is marriage understood among the Hindus? So we have to mention here that what is the importance of marriage among Hindus. We can say that marriage among the Hindus is not merely a union between a male or a female, but it is going to be the religious bond, not between the single individuals or not between the individuals, but between the whole families, both the families involved with the same. The next one they have asked, what is endogamy? That endogamy is the rule of the marriage in which the life partner are to be selected within the group, within the same group there. It is marriage within the group and the group may be based on your, here if we are talking about when you are going to do the marriage within the same group, and this include your caste, your own class, your tribe, village or even religion, etc. The next one they have asked, what is exogamy? So exogamy, here we talk about the word we can get from here that both are opposite to each other, and exogamy when we are defining here, that can be taken a rule of marriage in which an individual has to marry outside his own group. So endogamy, while you are going to get married within the same group, exogamy outside your own group. So that will come under exogamy. The next one they are asking, what is intercaste? The next one they are asking, what is intercaste marriage? So here if we define intercaste marriage, it is a person marrying outside one's own caste. Marrying, here we can say marrying outside one's own caste, in any other caste, and that we define as intercaste marriage. The next one, what is hypergamy or annulum? So we need to define the meaning of that. That also in a very brief we have to give the meaning here. So we can define hypergamy or annulum is a form of marriage in which the rituals, the status of a man is higher than of his prospective wife, where the status of men is higher than the future wife. Then what is hypogamy or pratylum? Here we have to define the meaning of that, and somewhere we are getting the idea that these two are opposite to each other. So here when we are talking about, it is also the form of marriage only, in which the ritual status of woman is higher than that of a prospective husband. In the previous one, we were talking about the higher status of men or the husband, but here we are talking about the higher status of wife. Clear? Next one is, what is nikah? Here if we define it, Muslim marriage is known as, so simply we can say Muslim marriage is known as nikah. What is nikah nama? So how we have to define it? It is under the nikah nama, the bride and the groom are asked by the Qazi in the presence of the witnesses about their voluntary consent to the marriage. So this is the sort of ritual which is the part of this nikah, that is Muslim marriage. When they agree voluntary, the marriage contract is sanctioned. This is called nikah nama, where the consent is required from both husband and wife, from both male and female to get married. What is meher? Meher, if we talk about, is the sum of money. We can simply say it's a sum. It is a sum of money or other property which a wife is entitled to get from her husband in consideration of marriage. So that we define as a meher. Next one, what are the two types of Muslim marriage? So here we talk about the two types of Muslim marriage can be taken as, the first one is regular and the second one is irregular. Another name for regular we can mention here, Sahi. That is one kind of Muslim marriage, and the another kind that we call irregular will be taken as Fasid. Clear? So these are the two types of Muslim marriage. The next one, they have asked, define joint family. So how we can define joint family? We can say joint family is a group of people who generally live under one roof, eat food together and cook food together, hold property in common, participate in common family worship and is related to each other as some kind of kindred. So some relations are there between these group of people, those who all are living together under one roof. So that will be taken as joint family. The next one they have asked, define kinship. So how we can define kinship? We can say, here we can use the statement given by Duncan Michel, that when we use the term kinship, we are referring to the people who are related to affinity, means when they are having the blood relation with each other. So that is going to be the kinship. So here the statement given by Duncan Michel can be used. The next one they have asked, define consanguinity. Define consanguinity. So we need to define this term. How we can define? It is the relationship based on, it is also the relationship based on blood, marriage or adoption. Clear? The next one they have asked, what is affinity? So here if we are talking about affinity, it is the relationship based on marriage. Relationship which is based on marriage will be taken as affinity. So kinship, if we are talking about, will include these both. The next one, what is lineage? So while we are defining lineage, is a group whose member trace common descent from an ancestor through known links. So if they are sharing this kind of common things between them or among themselves. So that will be taken as the lineage here. What is a clan? How we can define clan then? It usually composed of several lineage that claim descent from a common ancestor but cannot trace the links. Means these different groups are there, the lineage are there, those who are having the same sort of ancestor, but somewhere they are not going to find that common link with each other, will be defined as clan. Then we can, the next one they have asked, what is descent? So here we have to define the tracing of relationship through succeeding generation, that is, who has descended from whom is known as descent. When you are trying to trace those relationships which are existing, will be defined as descent. What is unilinear descent? Here unilinear descent, if we talk about, is that form of descent in which a relationship is emphasized through one sex or one line, means either from the male side or the female side. The next one, what is double or dual linear or bilinear descent? So here double or dual linear or the bilinear, which is giving the indication of 2. When we are talking about bi, it means 2. It is a form of unilinear descent which combines both male as well as female. So in the previous one, if we talk about unilinear, means single, either from male or female. But here if we are talking about, it is taking both male as well as female under that. The next one they have asked, what is marriage? The next they have asked, how is marriage understood among the tribal communities? So how we can define it? The tribal communities understand marriage as a social contract for sexual pleasure, production of children and mutual cooperation. So these are the things that can be taken to define the marriage between the different tribal communities. Now we are moving to the short question answers. So the first one they have mentioned, differentiate between hypergamy and hypogamy. So these are the two opposite terms, and already we have seen the meaning in the very short question answers. So here if we talk about, we can simply define both that hypergamy is a form of marriage in which the status of men is higher, whereas in hypogamy you have to mention the same point, the status of women is higher than that of men. Next one, name the defining features of nikah, that is Muslim marriage. So the defining features of this nikah or the Muslim marriage, if we talk about, it include groom plus bride, the qazi must be there, and the witnesses. So all these are the features of nikah, and these witnesses, if we talk about, it include 2 male or 4 female witness. The next one they have asked, explain briefly the role of kinship. So in brief we have to mention about that kinship provide 2 kind of role. The first one, it provide a way of transmitting status and property, that is the status and property from one generation to the another one by means of relationship through the descent, or there are the different ways of tracing these descent, namely that we have already discussed, the unilinear as well as the bilinear. So that will going to be the part of this first point. In the second point we can mention, the first we have here, if we talk about the first, a way of transmitting a way of transmitting status and property. Clear. The second one was going to be kinship. It regulates social behavior also. So, here we can say regulates social behavior. So, these are the two roles of kinship. Very briefly, you just have to explain, not in detail, because these are very short question answers. The next one, distinguish between consanguineous and affinal kinship. So, here we have to define, we have to do the distinguish between the two. That is consanguineous and affinal kinship. The two are opposite to each other. So, the first one, if we talk about the relation by the bond of blood. So, when we are connected by the bond of blood will be defined as consanguineous, and while we are talking about the bond due to marriage will be defined as the affinal kinship. So, these examples you are going to give, meaning you will provide, and then you can give the little bit explanation according to the same. Here we can say kinship as exists between the parents and their children is going to be the consanguineous, and while we are talking about based on the marriage, that is going to be between husband and wife, is the latter one. Now, we are going to do the discussion over the essay type questions, and when you are going to talk about these essay type questions, you must be knowing that these are the lengthy one, but it doesn't mean that out of the context you are going to write here. No, to the point your answer you have to write obviously, but in this it will include your intro and the conclusion, the first and the last part of your answer, and in between the important points you have to mention, and you need to give the detailings of those given points. So, let's move to the first question here. Explain the different ways of acquiring innates among the tribal communities. So, they are asking that what are the different ways of acquiring innates among the tribal communities. So, we have to mention all those. Firstly, we will give the intro that the different ways of acquiring innates among the tribal communities are. Clear? Then, one by one we have to give the heading. Like the first one we can say the marriage by negotiation, and then you need to little bit explanation, the brief explanation is required. The to the point explanation with the help of example can be given. So, the first way is marriage by negotiation. The second can be marriage by probation. The third you will mention marriage by capture, marriage by trial, marriage by purchase, marriage by service, marriage by exchange, and beside that marriage by elopement as well as marriage by intrusion. So, all these are the different ways of acquiring innates among the tribal communities. Clear? And explanation of these headings you have to give, then only your essay type answer is going to be completed. The second they have asked, briefly discuss marriage among the Hindus. So, here if we talk about marriage among Hindus is firstly we have to explain that it is not merely a union between a male or a female, but it is going to be a religious bond between the two and their families. Marriage is considered as a religious duty. Therefore, in traditional Hindu beliefs, if we talk about, they considered marriage as a permanent bond. Hindus believe that viva or the marriage joins two individuals for life in order to pursue the basic aim of their life. And what are these aims if we talk about? So, here we can define these aims. It includes the dharma or their duty, then possession also, then physical desire, and ultimate spiritual release, ultimate spiritual release also. So, we can also mention that marriage here we talk about is one of the important part of the rituals. Rules of mate selection, how the mate selection is being done. So, we can say that there are detailed rules and regulations regarding the choice of the marriage partner, and these include androgamy and exogamy. Rules of androgamy prescribe whom a Hindu can marry. The basic rule is that is the caste androgamy. A Hindu must marry within their own caste. And if we talk about rules of exogamy, it prescribe when a Hindu cannot marry outside their caste. So, according to that, a Hindu cannot marry with a person of the same gotra or pind. Clear? So, these are the some rules and regulation mentioned here. So, all that you can mention here within the custom or rules of the Hindu marriage. The next one they have asked, Muslim marriage is a contract. Explain this statement. How you can say that Muslim marriage, or we call it as a nikah, is a contract. So, here if we talk about Muslim marriage is purely a civil contract for the purpose of legalizing sexual intercourse and procreation of children. However, it maintains that though nikah is essentially a contract, it is also a devotional act or the religious duty. So, that's why we can say that Muslim marriage is a civil contract or secular bond in which a men and women are bound for legal procreation and mutual sexual enjoyment. So, here you have to explain it that Muslim marriage is a contract. The next one, write an essay on Muslim marriage. So, all these points that we have taken here, which will include what are the different features of Muslim marriage, which includes groom, bride, qazi and the other witness, and these witnesses include 2 male or 4 female witness. Then within this question number 4, we have to mention about that what are the 2 different types of marriages. We have to mention about the regular and the irregular marriage between the 2. Irregular marriages, if we talk about, occur in such cases as the absence of witnesses, like the 5th marriage of men, differences in religion, marrying a woman undergoing idat and marrying during pilgrimage. And irregular marriage can be made regular when you are going to transform the religion of the partner, or you are going to present the witness over there. And beside that, you have to mention the main features of the main 5 features of the Muslim marriage here, that includes proposal and its acceptance, then capacity of a person to contract marriage, then observance of doctrine of equality, preference system in the mate selection, and meher or door. So, all these points you are going to include here because you have to write an essay on Muslim marriage. So, what are the points related to that? All must be included, including all the rules and regulation. The next one they have asked, write an essay on Christian marriage in India. Here we have to define that what actually the Christian marriage is. It can be defined as a contract between the men and women intended to be binding for life for the purpose of sexual union, mutual companionship and the establishment of a family. So, we have to define firstly how we can. So, we can define first that how it is a sort of contract between the 2. Then we have to mention about all the ceremonies or the engagement ceremonies that are related to the Christian marriage. We can say that different formalities are required on both part before the marriage. That first one, both the bride and groom must provide a certificate of their membership of the church. Secondly, they need to produce a certificate of character also. Beside that, they have to submit an application for marriage in the church 3 weeks before the marriage date. Then the church priest invites objections against the proposed marriage, and when no objection is received, the marriage is held on the day fixed for it. In the church, priest is the one who is performing all the rituals related to Christian marriage, and after these rituals, wedding rings, symbol of marriage status, are exchanged after this. And beside that, if we talk about the priest and the pastor acts as the registrar of marriage according to the provision of Indian Christian Marriage Act of 1872. He also records the marriage in the registrar of marriage maintained in the church. So these are the different formalities which are required to be done before the marriage in church. And if we talk about Christianity, there is no practice of polygamy, or there is no practice of dowry or anything such sort of things. Remarriage of widow is not only accepted but also encouraged. So all these points we are going to mention in this question number 5. The next one, they have asked, name any 2 structural features of a joint family. What are the factors that are now leading to the breakup of the joint family? So here if we talk about 2 parts, they have asked. The first one, they are talking about the structural features of the joint family. And beside that, what are the factors responsible for bringing that distance or breaking up the joint families nowadays? So the first 2 structural feature of joint family, if we talk about, first we can take the common residence or the common kitchen among the different family members. The second one can be taken as the large depth of the family size. Usually the 3 generations are living together. So that will be taken as the joint family. The structural feature will be taken. Now what are the different factors? The second part they have asked, what are the different factors which are creating the problem nowadays and which is leading to the breakup of the joint families? So we can mention here the differential earnings of brothers generating tension in the household. This is one of the very common factor. Second one, we can say the growth of individualism is also led to the breaking up of these joint families. Then development of these secondary or the service sector also led to the formation of nuclear family, which resulted in the breakup of joint families. Now the question number 7, they have asked, what is a joint family? We need to define it and then explain any 3 functional elements of a joint family system in India. So in the first part, the meaning we have to give, and after that we have to mention 3 functional elements of the same. So while we are going to define it, we can say the joint family system was best suited to agrarian society when most of the people were engaged in the agricultural sector, when they all were living together. But following a process of change due to modernization, if we talk about the traditional joint families in India has shown remarkable changes in its structure and function. So here we are going to talk about these changes. Where the changes we have seen, we can mention the first one. Now the small family size. Second one we can mention about, the second one can be taken as the equality of individuals. or we can say the another point can be taken as the growth of individualism. So all these are three functional elements of joint family system in India. So here question number 7 I am taking, that first is what is a joint family, and explain in three functional elements of a joint family system in India. So firstly, how we can define? The joint family is a group of people who generally live under the same roof, eat food cooked at one place, hold property in common, and participate in common family worship. So all these factors are creating joint family. Now we have asked the second part, the functional elements of the joint family. So here we have to mention the different point. We can say the first one, the common rituals. We follow the common rituals there. Then we can mention about the role of Karta, who is usually the eldest male member and exercise authority. So that is also one of the important feature of joint family. The next one, the mutual obligations among the members which bind them together. So these three features can be taken to explain the functional elements of joint families. The next one, we are moving to write a short note on changes in the joint family. So here we have to mention that what changes are actually occurring in joint families. So firstly, we can say that joint family system was basically based on the agrarian society. It was best suited to an agrarian society. But due to the changes and due to the modern culture or the westernization, or due to the introduction of the secondary or the tertiary sector or even the service sector, we can say, the changes started occurring which lead to the individualism and which led to the breakup of joint families. So here we have to mention that about the different factors which created that change. So with the heading you can mention here the factor, the small family size is also responsible for the changes in the joint family. Secondly, we can mention the equality of individual, and here we can say the absence of the role of Karta, means the eldest family member, the male member was given authority in the joint family, but later on in the nuclear family no such kind of thing were present. Then the growth of individualism also can be taken as one of the factor for bringing change in the joint family. So all these points you need to mention and you need to explain the same. The next one, they have asked, explain 4 factors leading to disintegration of the joint families. So here firstly the intro we have to give, the 4 different factors leading to the disintegration of joint family are, and then we are going to give the heading. After giving that appropriate heading, we need to explain each and every point. The first one we can mention industrialization. The second one we taken as the development of means of transport and communication. Then impact of Western culture also, how it has impacted and lead to the individualism as well as the nuclear families. Then enlightenment of women also can be taken as the factor leading to bring the change in the joint family. So all these points you need to mention with the heading as a heading, and then you need to explain it with the examples. Question number 10, they have asked what is kinship. So here we can explain the first. The kinship is the relationship based on the blood or marriage or even adoption. Then discuss the function of kinship in Indian society. So here we have to explain that what is the function of kinship in our Indian society. So the different functions we can mention. The first one we can say the kinship assign guidelines for the interaction between persons. It actually defines a proper relation between the father and the mother, father and daughter, or mother and son. Then kinship determines family line relationship, gotra and kul. It also decides who can marry with whom and where marital relationships are taboo. It also helps to determine the right and obligations of the members in the family. So all these points you have to mention as the function of the kinship in Indian society. The next one we are taking, what define the joint family, that we have already discussed. You have to give the meaning of that joint family here, and the structural and the functional changes of joint family. So if we talk about what are the structural changes leading to bring change, or structural functions which are leading to bring change in the joint family, so we can mention here differential earnings of brothers generating tensions in the household. Secondly, we can mention about the growth of individualism is also one of the factor, and this development of the other two sectors, secondary and the service sector, manufacturing or the service sector, can be taken as the factor for structural change in joint family. And beside that, if we talk about the factors leading to that functional change, so the factors we can include under that the relation between the wife and husband, where the wife playing a more active role as compared to their husband. The second one we taken as parent-children relationship that give importance to children. Then relationship between daughter-in-law and parents-in-law because of changing role and the status of women. The status of women. So all these are going to be the part of these functional changes. The next one they have asked, discuss the North Indian and the South Indian kinship system in India. So here we have to give the feature of both. Firstly, the North Indian. We can mention the basic, we can say the basic kinship group are Kul, Gotra and Jati. Kul and Gotra, we talk about, these are the exogamous units, whereas Jati is the endogamous unit. And according to that, we have to mention that how there is a difference between a daughter and daughter-in-law, and a particular marriage alliance is means for extending kinship bonds by foregoing new kinship bond. And if we talk about in South India, the system is little bit different. Both patrilineal and matrilineal communities are there. A well-known example of matrilineal community is that of Nayars in Kerala, and their marriages within the known circle only. There are also preference for the marriages like cross cousin marriage and uncle niece marriage. The bride is familiar with the family into which she is married. Thus, a marriage alliance strengthens existing kinship bond in South India. So here in this way we have to show the difference between these two, North Indian and the South Indian kinship system. Next we are taking this higher order thinking skills, that is HOTS, and the problem solving assessment, PSA. The first one they have asked, in the Naga society, marriage is increasingly becoming expensive and time consuming. Suggest measures to perform holy matrimonial without involving worldly materials and time wastage. So one situation they have given to you, that in Naga society we talk about, so many changes are taking place and these are becoming more expensive as well as time consuming. So what are the different ways which can help it to reduce? So we have to discuss about the same. So what can be done here? So you can mention the intro first, that some of the measures can be taken for the same. The first one, by minimizing expensive venues, decorations and food. Secondly, you can mention by arranging and organizing 4 to 5 couples in a church at a time for marriage, which will reduce the time of people attending the marriage as well as the less expense will be incurred by each person. So here these are the few measures that we have suggested here. More you can add from your own side if you would like to, because this is based on your thinking. So whatever the ideas coming to you, that can be added on here. The next one they have asked, criminals often go scot-free in Nagaland due to kin interferences against existing formal laws. How should the society act in the Naga context and why? So here the situation they have given you first, that criminal often goes scot free in Nagaland, and just because of their relationship against the existing formal laws which are applicable in that area. How should the society act in this context and why? So here we know that why such kind of thing happening here, just because of because of the political involvement. It can be due to the political involvement. Some take pride and some want and let it go. To tackle this, we should report the incident in and around us when something unusual happens. We should not take law into our hands, but we need to complain to the police, and police should punish and take the action as per the law there. And even the public, the common people can play an important role in this situation by informing the police about such sort of criminal cases or such sort of incidents in their areas. How it is going to help them? It will help them to find out the real culprit and to punish them. So these were the question answers that we have discussed based on your unit 3. Hopefully all the things are clear. We discussed the very short question answers, the short question answers, then essay type questions, and the different high order thinking skill and PSA questions.